Manchester United are steaming ahead fast, targeting Brighton defensive midfielder Carlos Baleba. And in this video, I am going to show you how a player like Baleba is going to fit into Ruben Amorim's tactical setup at Manchester United. Without any further ado, let's analyze. So every time I make these kind of videos, I always like to start by first framing the problem that Manchester United has in order for us to better understand the role that this player could play in the context of those tactical issues or limitations. And of course, one of the things that Manchester United under Ruben Amorim struggles with the most is, of course, the build-up phase. Now, luckily for us, Brighton this season, I'm sure many people probably noticed, build up the same way Ruben Amorim is trying to build up this season. The only difference is that, of course, with Brighton, they play a back four, so they build up with two central defenders and two defensive midfielders, whereas in the case of Manchester United, one defender pushes next to one of the double pivots, with the other one actually moving high and wide. So in this context, what role does Baleba play? Well, here, as you can see, again, same shape, you know, that square box shape, but Baleba gets actually bypassed a lot in the build-up, in that him and whoever is his partner in the midfield act as decoys, where the central defenders, Dunk and Van Eyck, for example, try to progress the ball vertically. Here, there is another sequence. Again, as you can see, Baleba is mainly used as a decoy, but is not actively used as an active participant in the build-up. Now, when he does get involved, well, a few things might happen. Okay, so here, for example, in this sequence, he gets the ball. He's trying to find a solution, but of course, he just plays the ball out of play. It doesn't happen often. Usually, Baleba is actually quite protective of the ball. He values possession a lot, but sometimes it can happen. Sometimes, like this case against Manchester City, he chooses to just play it simple and just keep the ball going and keep the team ticking, which is also just fine. But many of you might think, well, Mr. Scarlet Report, what does this mean? Are you against us signing Baleba? Is this a player you don't rate? And the answer is no, absolutely not. Because, like I said in many of my other videos, in the build-up phase, we are talking actually about a variety of stages. Okay, so a primary stage, a secondary stage, okay? So generally speaking, Baleba doesn't really get involved much in the primary stage. But listen, football is moving forward. So it's not just a Manchester United problem, and it's not a personnel problem. It's just there are many ways of playing football. And there are some teams that just choose to not have their defensive midfielders be involved in the build-up as much. They'd rather get them involved further up the pitch. And that's the case with the Brighton system. And that's also the case with the Ruben Amorim system. So what happens when Baleba gets involved in the build-up, but a little bit further up the pitch? Well, wonderful things happen. For example, here against Manchester City, this was an amazing game, by the way. Brighton were losing 1-0 to Manchester City. He was not playing in the first half, got introduced at halftime, and then simply changed the game, and Brighton won 2-1 with him being involved in all goals that were scored. So here, as you can see, he's scanning the horizon, looking for passes, collects the ball in a very nonchalant way, just plays this long ball into the path of Mitoma. This has resulted in a header onto goal. But then again, it's that playmaker's instinct that he has. Same thing, you'd never want to do this with Baleba. That means be in a situation where you are trying to apply pressure on him when he has a lot of space. Look what he does to Foden and whoever that is. That's Bernardo Silva right there. Look at how easily he just gets past them, you know? So he's an extremely potent and effective ball carrier. And then here, of course, he has single-handedly created this Brighton winning goal. As you can see here again, positioning himself just behind this shape that Manchester City had. In fact, Manchester City were thinking, okay, we are quite compact. You see two banks of four. They have an extra man. I think that's Kovacic in midfield. We are safe, aren't we? No, not with the player, with the quality of Baleba, as you can see, with his arm, asking for the ball. He gets it, raises his head, identify the options, and then 1-2, and Brighton were able to run on goal, and that was actually them scoring this goal and winning the game. Now, that was the build-up, okay? So I'm going to elaborate more on what this means for Manchester United in the closing remarks segment. But now let's talk about another thing that Manchester United seems to struggle with, which is we like to press with intensity. You know, Amorim talks about it. Erik ten Hag tries to implement it. But we always feel that the team is left exposed in these kind of areas, especially a player like Casemiro, for example, who doesn't have a lot of legs. So is that just a Manchester United problem? Well, no, actually it happens with other teams. In the case of Brighton, do you think that Baleba sits deep in order to protect the team? No. Baleba is right here. He's actually involved in this, intense press against Chelsea, as you can see. But why does this work, and why it doesn't leave Brighton as exposed as it does Manchester United is because of this guy, Van Dijk, the centre back, who is actually pushing really high and aggressively against Cole Palmer right here, as well as Minte, who was playing right back right there against Enzo Fernandez, just making sure that these players do not receive the ball. If you remember that goal we conceded against West Ham in preseason, it was because Souček was able to find himself in acres of space there because one of our centre backs should have gone aggressively against him in order to prevent him from receiving the ball. Here's another example. As you can see, Baleba is actually right here involved in this pentagon shape. But again, as you can see, Minte right there on the player he's marking. And then, of course, Van Dijk over here just ensuring that the Chelsea player cannot collect the ball and do anything with it. Now, why does Brighton do that? Is because with Baleba, they have an extremely effective player in the press because Baleba is quite athletic. He is, he's got quite the physical presence. And here against Chelsea, he's able to collect the ball from Sanchez and score the goal. This was against Manchester City again. As you can see, Baleba was part of that diamond shape that was tasked with pressing high up the pitch. But the reason why they prefer having Baleba higher up the pitch, because the moment they win the ball, he can use his physicality here to bully the opposition. And then, of course, use his underrated vision to lay these balls, these through balls, into the attackers and cause havoc with the opposition. So my aim with this video is, of course, to shed some light on Carlos Baleba as a player and show you how he can fit in within Ruben Amorim's tactical setup. But also, I am trying here to protect Baleba and the Manchester United fans because having read online a lot of the things that were said about him, it seems that a lot of Manchester United fans are really excited about this transfer and, understandable. But also, I feel that a lot of people do not quite understand Baleba as a player. And what is disappointment? Disappointment is when expectations do not match reality. And I feel that the image that a lot of Manchester United fans have on Baleba, the player, the version that he can potentially be for us, is actually not close to reality. Whereas a lot of Manchester United fans are thinking that Baleba is going to be the kind of midfielder that's just going to drop 5 yards away from Onana, be like, come on, Andre, just give me that ball, and then dribble past 6 or 7 players and score a goal. Those moments are special. He's certainly capable of that. He does have the attributes, but they're special. And by definition, something that is special is not common. It's not regular, okay? So it's not going to happen all the time. It's not routine, okay? So those moments could happen, and I certainly hope so, but don't bank on them happening all the time. The evidence that I have from watching many games of Baleba playing for Brighton is that he doesn't really get involved in the build-up as much, but he has a pretty potent and effective impact when we talk about the center of the pitch because of his ball carrying ability. He knows how to use, his body to shield the ball. He's quite press resistant. He's absolutely unfazed. And with that, he just allows his team a lot of room to breathe. Equally, he's not really a midfielder whose main job is to shield someone like Bruno or Mainoo. I know that a lot of Manchester United fans are concerned about the fact that Mainoo and Bruno are quite risk takers. Someone like Casemiro sometimes also has some crazy wacky moments where he just goes into some really ambitious forward runs or some ambitious tackles that leave us exposed. But like I showed in my video, the way Brighton do it is simply by changing the structure of your tactical shape, because these are not really player issues. They are mainly structural. And I think that at Manchester United, to solve those structures is very easy. It's just have 1 or 2 center backs push up more aggressively in order to defend those spaces that are liberated and freed by players like Bruno and Baleba and Mainoo, because those players, they like to be a little bit more in a free role than to be a number 6 that just holds their positions. So Baleba, exciting talent. I am planning on making a Q&A type of video. I think I've already asked my audience on X if they had any questions about Baleba that they would like me to answer in a video. If you'd like me to answer some of your questions, please make sure that you post them on the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it the thumbs up. Until next time, cheers.